Before we begin, you might have heard of the graphic novel adaptation of my book, Shadow of the Conqueror, Enemies of Self. Yes, it is still available, so you can secure your copy if you haven't already. I made sure we had some of the very best comic book art that you can get. This is absolutely a top-tier graphic novel, and it has been going amazing. We actually passed $300,000, which is incredible. I'm so thankful to everyone who's backed us, and I'm wondering how far we can push it now, because the more successful this campaign is, the more I intend to reinvest and do even more. Not only the second volume of Shadow the Conqueror, awesome space opera, as well as superhero comic books, just doing the classic great stuff that we have been, I've been starving for, because we absolutely can have awesome stories once again, and we can make them ourselves even better than what the mainstream is doing. So if you haven't backed it already, I really encourage you to check it out because I think you will love it. There are collector edition covers as well as leather bound, available not just for the graphic novel, but the second edition version of the main trade published novel that it's based on. Yes, so if you haven't tried my book yet, great time to give it a go as well. Welcome back to The Watch, and we just watched Black Adam.
Yes, we did. We've come straight from the cinema.
Straight! And this is like the first day of release, and because we're in Australia, we're a day ahead, so This might get out really early. I have a lot to say about this one.
I think we'll have good discussions in this review.
I'm looking forward to it. If you're new to Night's Watch, we do non-spoilers and give our recommendation and then dive into the nitty-gritty of what we think is working and not working in the spoiler section. And so, broad thoughts of Black Adam, Nathan?
I didn't hate this one.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, there were parts that I would say I had a good time with. There were still things that frustrated me and I went, ah! But other parts, I found myself kind of engrossed in the story.
I mean, I didn't hate it either. I wouldn't call it good. I would call it as middlingly average a superhero film can kind of get, with problems on top of it. There are problems with this film which really hinder it from actually becoming something, truly exceptional. Least of all, the main character. There's a lot to talk about in terms of how they portrayed Black Adam and his direction as a character, and the whole film needs to be held up by him, and that I feel they actually failed at his portrayal in terms of making him carry the movie. It's not to say I didn't enjoy him in parts. I think in parts I was actually, The Rock could do a good Black Adam.
I think so too.
It's just the narrative and story that really lets this down, and the direction. They didn't really know what they want. I could ask, and this isn't a spoiler, and I won't get you to answer it. We'll answer it in the spoiler section. But I'll ask you, Nathan, what is his goal? And
I did the same thoughts because that's something I was wondering at the start of the movie too,
and that's a problem.
Yeah,
that's a big problem. And so there's that, and because there are also other just silly things that don't make sense, and other parts of where the film fails, and it didn't really reach any massive heights, except maybe one or two moments where I actually started to feel or get a little invested. But then it's pulled down by those other things, and then everything else is so just average superhero schlock. It could almost be pushed to a 5, but those things that let it down bring me down to a 4 for me out of 10. What would you give it?
Out of 10? This is I think 5, just because I was very lukewarm about it. It wasn't amazing and great, but I could sit through it and enjoy parts of it.
This is a film I think my kids would really enjoy because there's heaps of spectacle. There is huge spectacle in this. There's nothing hugely offensively bad. It doesn't have a massive kind of there are more progressive things in it, but they're very minor and they're not like slap you in your face stuff. And so easy to just, all right, that's what people want to
That's what the world is like right now. So
and overall, I think now Was it you that said that it was almost an R-rated and they brought it down?
Yeah, and then brought down to PG.
I could see where
They cut stuff. I could tell too very easily.
And it could have been pushed that level. Now, in terms of it's almost on the line. There are some moments where you see people dying and they are a bit more graphic than you expect. I mean, I think for my parents' choice, I would say let the parents watch and choose. I would be mostly okay with my kids watching it, but it could be a little scary for the younger ones. But I think overall they'll probably really enjoy it because of, like I said, there's lots of spectacle, lots of like superhero action, and they'll enjoy that just for the sake of that. There's no like horrible, messaging that derails it, but there's nothing truly uplifting either. And so it's not something that I want my kids to watch for the sake of this will be inspiring and make you really love the superhero genre. None of that.
Nah. I felt also the pacing was off a bit for me. Mm-hmm. I felt like they were like, obviously most movies have 3 acts, the beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
But I felt like
this has a 4th act.
Yeah, which my bladder wasn't ready for. My bladder was like, okay, we're ready. Oh, no, I'm going to sit and watch this bit too. And the opening as well, I felt was a bit jarring. I felt like they had a few introductions that could have been cut for brevity's sake and actually get to the point where I feel like they did lots of exposition.
Interesting, because if you're talking about there's other heroes there. They're in the trailer. You see other heroes in there. You're talking about their introduction?
Them, but also I just wanted to get to Black Adam.
Yeah, interesting, because I felt Black Adam was one of the things that let down this film. I would have loved a lot more attention on the other heroes.
Me too.
And give us some context of how they fit in this world, because that was just baffling. It's like, where did they come from?
See, I would have been happy with that, but then don't call it Black Adam.
Yes.
Call it something different.
Yeah. We'll unpack that more in the spoiler section. The 4th act, and there's a 4th act in this, gets really CGI to the point where it's like comically obvious CGI, or it's just like, how we like. It's so similar to all the other CGI slugfest, and I'm not actually against it if it's engaging, if there's something that's drew me in, and I'm engaged what's actually happening, and I might want to see, I hope someone wins, or bad guy gets beaten, or people get saved, or anything like that. And if it's exciting enough, and I know kind of what's going on with the powers and everything, and unique, interesting things are done with the powers and the fighting and stuff, that can really draw you in. And so I don't criticize CGI slugfest for the sake of CGI slugfest. If there's something, I don't know, like meaningful or interesting happening, right? There was none of that.
Yeah. I think my takeaway from this movie is there's lots of spectacle to it, but the substance is missing.
That's what I was looking for. Substance.
The sludge would have been so good had it had some substance to it. I would have been like, because it makes fight scenes more
absolutely
impactful. But when you're missing that stuff, then the fight scenes feel more hollow because, okay, I don't know why are you fighting and beating up each other.
What powers are they using? What can they do? What are the actual limits and strengths of these heroes?
What are the balances between different abilities and... Yeah, stuff like that.
And so you just end up being lost and watching people do stuff because they can do stuff without any context or understanding of what's actually happening, what's making them struggle. And it's interesting because you compare it to better superhero films where we actually have some, like, just by what's being shown, some understanding of power scales with like Iron Man's suit and with what Captain America can do and Thor and all those things. And where this... You don't know what the power scales are. You see certain people struggle against another hero, or another person, yet they're never flat out beaten. And so, like, if I was to ask you, like, we see this character in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, Hawkman. Like, how strong is Hawkman? We've no idea, really.
I don't know.
And so, as a result, the action ends up being very unsatisfying because we don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something that happens at the end where regular people get involved in, and I was just like, oh, come on. It was pathetic. That part was just, come on.
But you got to have the people coming together part in the movie.
It was like, I'll save that for the spoilers. Hopefully I'll remember. So... It's a very flawed film with nothing too offensively bad, with very average, middling stuff, and so I think people could enjoy it, but as a result, right? Because this is the thing. This has B-list characters across the board. Very few people know who Black Adam is, and I don't think The Rock is going to be enough celebrity draw to attract people. The age of the celebrity is over these days.
Almost. I think The Rock is kind of one of the
He's one of the few, but he's not going to do it. I don't think people are interested in this film. I've seen no excitement, no lead up. If it does well, I'll be wrong, but like I said, very few interest. Like Superman or Batman, that's big. Like,
yeah.
That's
Everyone goes
Superman film.
Doesn't matter, but everyone will always go to the new Batman movie.
And this is, and so it's not resting on. The character isn't exciting enough, and then it's a Rock film. No one's really reacting. We got to see it because it's got The Rock in it. I mean, he's been in a lot of films where people, like Fast and Furious. Yes, he's in Fast and Furious. His injection into it helped, but it wasn't just because it had The Rock. It's because the Fast and Furious is a fun franchise and it's riding off of its own reputation.
Yeah, you remind me of Fast and Furious and how absurd they got.
It's absurdly funny. I like it. They're dumb, they're bad movies, but they're fun, and I can give it that. You could always, but this doesn't get to that level of absurdity or funness either. Yeah, Black Adam talking about.
And that's the thing, though. I was a bit confused in this movie because there was comedy in it, but I don't think any of it landed. And I don't know whether or not this movie should have as much comedy in it.
Yeah, like the comedy parts were interesting for me. I didn't think they were terrible. Well, look, I never laughed out loud once.
Yeah.
I know, and so there's a fail with the comedy.
There wasn't that many people in the cinema. I think I heard one laugh from someone else in the entire movie.
Yeah, very few people in the thing. We got to an early session, but if this was a big film, it would have been sold out. Like, this was the first session available of the day of release, and there was maybe 5 other people in the cinema. Russ,
maybe in the city there's more, but I don't know.
I remember when I went to The Dark Knight, packed out cinema.
Yeah.
Packed out cinema. And that moment with the Joker and the pencil, like the entire cinema reacted, right? So just my own kind of subjective take about the excitement of the film, I don't think it's going to do very well. Because this is the thing, right? With B-list characters across the board and the celebrity culture mostly dead, the only way this film would really blow up if it was phenomenal. Like, look at Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
It was a good movie,
It was a real... I'm not saying it was phenomenal, but it was fun. It got word of mouth, and it turned a B-list cast into something mainstream. This film is nowhere near that. Yeah. And as a result, because of its own failings, the lack of celebrity culture, and its B-list cast, I expect this is going to bomb pretty significantly. And I mean, and if people are just coming to our review to find out, we're not singing his praise to say you have to go watch it. And so word of mouth, I don't think is going to encourage people either.
Yeah, like if you got a free movie ticket, there's not much else on either right now. I was looking at the time showings of things.
Yeah.
A few Halloween flicks, that's kind of it. So they might actually even out because there's nothing else to see. Yeah. But also, if there's nothing else to see, maybe people they won't even go to the cinema.
If I wasn't reviewing this, I would not have gone out of my way to watch it at all.
No.
And the only thing that might have made me go out of my way to watch it is a fun treat for the kids, and it's the only thing available and they might enjoy it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's actually more condemning on the film than
it's not that bad, but it's not that good.
It's like there's nothing else better. We ought to just take it to Black Adam. Oy. So, and you know what's frustrating? It could have been great though.
It had potential.
This is annoying because there were moments that showed potential in this film, and they lost it and failed at it. And if they capitalized on those moments, and remember how I said the fundamental failing is they didn't know how to use this character properly, they could have made this really good. How? We need to go into spoilers for me to break that down. And I think we're almost there now for our general... So that's our non-spoiler review. I'm still sitting on a 4 out of 10 for me.
I'm at a 5.
Mm-hmm. Watch it if you want to. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say never watch it. I wouldn't recommend it either. It's like, meh.
It's just on the shelf.
It's just on the shelf. If you got time, and you nothing better to do, check out Black Adam. Alrighty, spoilers now. This is your warning. We're getting into spoilers, okay? And I'm not sure if we can go chronologically or just have the discussion wherever it leads.
We'll just go back and forth. There's no notes in this review.
Yeah, we need to talk about Black Adam and his betrayal and the character because I asked you, what is his purpose, right? He doesn't really have one.
No.
Okay? Everything that happens to Black Adam is people acting on him and him having no real agency or goals or whatever. He gets woken up, and the moment he gets woken up, he's attacked. He kills everyone who he's attacked by, and then he kind of gets knocked out with a weapon that is somewhat effective against him that we never see again.
You would think they'd use it on him at least once.
Yeah. And we've skipped a lot of issues already. Maybe I have to go back because the biggest discussion is Black Adam, but there's issues about the introduction of Kundak and Eternia. and
Lots of big words if you don't know DC. I was scrambling at the start of this movie going...
I have only tangential exposure to DC Comics. I've gone deeper into like some things. Like I've read the... Batgirl arc, the one who was mute, and shit, that was a good arc, and then I've got other like just comics here and there, but I've never come across Eternia. I think this is all made up for the film. If I'm wrong, like I said, not huge, but it really just felt made up. Anyway, I want to talk about all that. Justice Society, we need to talk about them. It's a lot to talk about, but going back to Black Adam, okay? And so he kind of gets knocked out, right? And then the Justice Society gets sent onto his case. He wakes up and then is confronted by the Justice Society. And then there's a kid that kind of is trying to connect with him. And then he decides that he's going to save this kid because...
the kid says so.
Well, that one I think is justified for what they set up because there's a reveal about his backstory that could have worked and could have pushed somewhere. But the issue, this comes down to the issue. Black Adam is a villain in the comics. Like I said, I'm not hugely read, but every time Black Adam has come up, if there was like a team up with the Justice League and all the bad guys will get together and he's introduced, every time I've come across Black Adam in nearly every context, he's a villain. I haven't read Shazam. It was Captain Marvel originally and stuff. Like I said, I don't know anything. I remember watching an animated thing that has Black Adam, appearing in the world, and it's actually he fights Superman in it. It was actually that cartoon was really cool. Villain there. It was really the birth of Shazam, that animation, and Black Adam is in that one. Like I said, a villain, and every time he was a really menacing, good villain. Black Adam has the potential to be one of the best villains, and especially because, like, what's annoying, they had a backstory that would have justified a villain origin story, that would have given great motivation, and given a complex kind of structure. Like, he doesn't want to destroy the world, but he could be so insanely rage-filled, vengeance-filled against the people that destroyed his family and stuff like that, that he feels like any type of government leadership will just end up enslaving its people, and he goes on like... This could have been his main motivation. He wakes up and he sees a world that has more bureaucracy, more nations than ever before, and he could see the entire world like they're enslaved in these systems in the way that he was before, and he could have just tried to go nuclear, and you would have such a compelling villain there who has a more sophisticated backstory where he thinks he's trying to free the people. He's thinking he's fighting for good and is wreaking insane destruction, and of course the heroes have fight him, and that would have been engaging. You could have a villain that's on the same tier, in my opinion, I'm not kidding, as Darth Vader, right? Because he is so powerful, he has a really complex,
backstory and
origins and motives, right? And he is really cool. Black Adam just looks cool, okay? And you could have had a banger, but this is where so much of the failings, they wanted to make him a hero in this, and they couldn't commit. They couldn't properly commit him to being a hero, and they couldn't commit for pushing him all fully villain, and as a result, he's completely lost, has no motivations, it's muddling, and you're not invested or engaged at all. If I was to say what is that one of the primary failings of this film, it is this right here. They couldn't commit to doing one thing or that. And this is the thing, right? Committing to making him a full hero, I mean, you might have been able to make that work. It would really annoy people who love the source material because he's a villain. But now because they couldn't commit, it's like it's wishy-washy, and I wonder why like they were so desperate to try and make him a hero. Is it because The Rock didn't want to play a horrible bad guy? It's a film about Black Adam. Because if he was a villain, it wouldn't really make sense to make it the Black Adam film. It would, I don't know.
You could go like a Joker style.
Yeah, that's true as well. So you probably could have made it still a Black Adam film. The issue is, right, if he went like full nuclear and ready to like attack the world, you need Superman,
you need Justice
Shazam,
League.
You need the big guys to fight him, and then suddenly it's a Justice League film, okay, or a Shazam film. Shazam, who I trained myself to call him Captain Marvel back in the day. His comic was called Shazam, but I was like, I always had to tell myself, no, that's not his name, it's Captain Marvel.
And now they've changed it.
And now they've just changed it, and it's just Shazam. So anyway, I get confused there. So anyway, Shazam, they could have made like him the main villain in Shazam. They didn't want to do that. And so it feels like they couldn't dive all the way into the villain thing because then you need the big guys. And even then, it still doesn't really make sense that the big guys aren't called in this film. Yeah. Having said that, though, this is what's also... For me, Dr. Fate is a big guy. Like... And by the way, one of the few characters that I think actually kind of worked, and it annoys me because we weren't given enough backstory and everything, was Dr. Fate. I like Dr. Fate in this. What was your thoughts on Dr. Fate?
I enjoyed him. Yeah. I don't know him as a character at all.
I mean, you're Pierce Brosnan playing Dr. Fate. What a great cast.
He was enjoyable in the movie.
Yeah.
Every time he was on screen, I liked watching him.
They could have done a lot. You could have made a Dr. Fate film.
I feel like, there's lots of potential that they just dropped.
Don't really care about Hawkman. And oh, by the way, Atom Smasher and the Tornado Girl, pointless in this film.
Yeah.
You get rid of them.
The green rookies that don't do anything.
Distracted.
They were the romance in this movie.
Comic relief as well.
Yeah.
But it was so lazy, unfunny, like...
And second thought every time. They're like, we need the romance part. Have them look at each other.
They didn't even pay that off, though.
No.
And so they just drag the film down, distract it,
toss it to the west side and you'd be fine.
But again, you could have perhaps done something with him if you were willing to focus more on the Justice Society. But they no, this is the Black Adam film, so we can't take away attention from Black Adam. And so they didn't probably... This is a film of not committing to any one thing to make it work and just trying to get everything and doing a half-assed job in it all, right? And so it's not a villain, it's not a hero. They introduce these characters, they don't set them up, they're out of place in the world, everything. Some might have worked, some are mostly pointless because they didn't do anything properly with them. And then because he has no proper goals or motives, you have the most generic kind of bad guy imaginable. Just, I'm bad because I'm bad and I want power and I get power and then I'm like a demon guy and I summon the most pathetically anticlimactic, weak zombie skeletal monsters that can just be hit aside with like a club. So that was bad. That was really, what a pathetic.
The least threatening threat I think they've ever seen in
awful.
superheroes.
That was like cringe moments. It was like, you could do more than swing a stick or something like that. And his choice to swing a stick was to stand holding his head like that when no one can see him. Like, Black Adam didn't arrive because you did that. You were just standing there doing nothing. So there were astronomically dumb things in this film. Okay, don't get me wrong, and that was one of them. Let's go back to again, back on track with the Black Adam discussion. Okay, so like there was stuff there that, like I said, you could have made him a villain. Especially they had an interesting backstory. I think this is different to the comics, right? But still, this is where I started to feel something, but it kind of went nowhere. In that he is so dark, willing to like, because he actually wasn't the chosen hero. It was his son, and his son gave his father his own powers to save the father's life, making him vulnerable, and the son gets killed, and then Black Adam went nuclear and just wiped out
everyone. Yeah.
Well, all the soldiers and the thing, but you screw collateral damage kind of thing. But still, that had interesting potential for someone who was just possessed with revenge, rage, destruction, everything. that they then kind of gave up because instead, and look, this kind of, he's like, I'm an unworthy hero and I'm too destructive, and he surrenders himself at that point. So that kind of worked, and the reveal kind of worked. It's like, okay, he wasn't really the chosen one and everything, but it goes nowhere really, because that's not the end of the film. That's just the end. That was the third act in, but then it's like, no, we need a big.
We need a climax. That wasn't very climactic.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So they wanted a big fight at the end, and kind of rob that decision. And now and then, what does he actually want?
Well, because at the end he changes. Then he's like, I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to listen to you guys. And then someone comes in, and he's a villain now.
We don't know. Like I said, they don't know what he wants in this film, and because he's not a villain, so therefore he doesn't have motivation to do bad things, but he's not going to. He kind of decides to protect Kondak. That's the only real thing at the end, though that was not really his motivation at the beginning. He just, are they? Well, they don't know what they're doing. I was trying to say, are they trying to build a superhero origin story where he reflexively saved her when she was? That kind of surprised me because he's going nuclear on everyone. He's killing everyone. He actually has no context that lady is not with the bad guys trying to shoot him. And so him saving her didn't make sense to me because he's killing everyone without hesitation. And then he has no idea if she's on their side or not, and then decides to save her. What? Because girl, woman, I don't know. They tried to use that as that you effectively save me, so there's good in you, we believe in you. And then he reflexively saves the kid at one point as well, I think. And then he decides he won't let the kid die. This could be justified because he sees in the kid his own son.
Yeah.
And this is where you could have kind of more complexity to his character, where you could have him on that, destructive path because he wants to protect people, and that's the way he sees us doing and everything. And this is just like, I don't know what I want, but I'll protect this kid. Everyone's trying to attack me, and so I'll kill you if you attack me. There's no point does he say, how dare Kondak be under, slavery, occupation. They're constantly telling him, you're our champion, you have to beat these other bad guys. And he never responds to that. He's just like, whatever.
And then flies off.
I want to go look at this statue.
Basically.
At no point did he show any desire to liberate Kondak. And he ends up doing it just because the kid gets kidnapped by the bad guys. And so he ends up wiping out the bad guys because of that reason. And so he's lost as a character. And therefore we're not really invested in because we don't know what he cares. And at the end, he kind of decides, yeah, I might as well. I mean, he was going to be their ruler, but no, he won't be their ruler. And that's it for his motivations. What a wasted opportunity, and a way to make you not care because he doesn't care about much either. And he decides, and then at the end, so he wants to protect people, but not all people. Is it only because these people were nice to him?
Or they're his people, and there's the good, bad guy. But then it's like, okay, are you a good person or are you bad?
Don't know.
There's too many layers of like, whose side are you on?
They want to make him a hero, but they want him to be an anti-hero, but they don't know how to make him because he has no real. Because an anti-hero is someone usually so obsessed with fighting a good fight that they are overly violent. This guy isn't obsessed with anything. He's just like, anyone who bothers to try and fight me, I'll kill you.
Yeah, if you get in my way.
Okay, which is the big issue that Hawkman has with him, and we can unpack that a little more as well. So that's the character of Black Adam in this film. Waste, all right. What about many of the other aspects of the film? And so I want to go back just to talk about some of the introduction stuff because wow, DC was so desperate to have their Wakanda in Kondak. Did you notice that?
They were holding on so tight, like, we could do it, we could do it.
An ancient Middle Eastern or African country that was actually, they weren't advanced technologically, but they were the first, it was self-governing society, specifically. Like, just one of those little things that they want to inject. I think, the only true successful society that will reach utopia status will be like, I don't know, socialism or communism or something like self-governing where, the whole nothing's owned by anyone, everything's owned by all, everything's probably redistributed self and really successful and nations have been ruled by a king, and there've been great kings in the past. There've been bad ones as well. I'm not saying, but still, but they said like, the implication of that is the key to the fall of this nation was a king, a bad guy,
a leader.
And it's like inherently, if you have leaders, they could have led something there with that and have that be confirmed in Black Adam's perspective. It'll be a false perspective, but he could believe so much in anarchy that no humans, if they have any type of leadership, they're enslaved. I will liberate you, whether you like it or not, and start destroy. They don't do that. No. So anyway, they have this kind of enlightened society that has a unique material that's only in their borders or land. It's not vibranium. This is Eternia. Random magical material that can do magical stuff, whatever we want in the plot. It's arbitrary and has no rules around it. Just does magic stuff.
And it shows up for a bit and then goes away. And then shows up again?
Yeah, I mean, they make a crown out of it. You saw a big rock of Eternia with the wizards. They don't say it's the source of one of the greatest forms of magic in the world. There's no rules. They don't define anything. It's a magical rock. But anyway, massive Wakanda vibes with that. And then they even wanted to try and instill a hand sign. Wakanda's that. This is that. That's their triangle. And the payoff with that was just so dumb.
That kid's speech was so sad.
Really sad. And so, all right, yeah, we get it. You want your own Wakanda, you fail in the execution, and I'm not saying I couldn't have had, because Kahndaq is a thing in the comics, right? But it felt very forced with the mystical material, the hand sign, and everything like that. But anyway, that's the setup. And then thousands and thousands of years later, Kahndaq is a modern Middle Eastern looking city now that's under a type of occupation. This is like it's controlled by Intergang, they say. Mm-hmm. But this is bizarre because we don't know if this is an actual like military they came in and just wiped out the government. There was a war and then they overtook it. It almost seems like it was a corporation that just bought all the mining rights and is because that was the feel. And then but they call them colonialists, or the kid accuses me, I don't know, you're colonialist, colonizer, something like that, stealing our natural resources and everything like that. More of that type of messaging. So they're just generic bad guys, but that's the setup in Kahndaq. And I was thrown a little bit like, oh, so the civilization wasn't destroyed, it just continued, and then nothing really happened, but until now where they're, I don't know, just Kahndaq to me, from, I don't know, because like I said, I haven't read a lot of the comics. One of the only introductions to Kahndaq in mine was playing DC Heroes Online. Great MMO. It's not it's aged now, but back when it launched out, that was a lot of fun. That was a good MMO, and there were like instances and levels in Kahndaq, and it was an ancient city buried that it's like you have to find it. It was like an archaeological dig that forgotten, lost, and they find it, or there might have been ancient people living there that were forgotten and they were hiding, kind of like. But no, this is like a modern city, and just threw me as like, oh, all right, okay, that's the setting, Kahndaq, and there's a lady who's like an archaeologist who's also the mother of the kid.
Lara Croft
ripoff.
Really, she was, because the thing that got me annoyed at the start of this movie was when she could just read everything perfectly and was like, oh, this is this, and that. This is this, and that. All right, if I do this, then da-da-da-da. And I was like, okay.
I thought they were going to use that as justification to keep her tied in with the plot more.
Yeah.
This was what I was expecting to do, that Adam wouldn't be able to speak English and he needed someone to translate for her, and she was the only one who knows the language. And he wakes up and he speaks in his own language, and it was a cool line. He's like, he catches a bullet and he says, your magic is weak. And I'm like, that was cool, okay? And then he gets knocked out and he wakes up and he's speaking full-blown English.
Yep.
They don't explain that. And look, he's got magical powers. If someone just said, what, you can speak our language now? Then he just says, I can speak all languages. It's just like, it's a magical effect that he understands communication. Done, but they don't explain, don't give any kind of little explanation. He just now speaks the language. Before he wasn't. And they don't use that thing where they could have injected her more into Black Adam saying, you're going to be my translator or teach me or whatever. None of that. In fact, he just she gets dragged on the story because the kid forces himself into the situation and ends up getting kidnapped, and because they have the crown. There's a crown made of Eternia, the magic material that the king made.
Has demons in it or something.
Yeah, it's like it's such arbitrary. There's no reason why this magic material and the crown will connect, but he says by making this crown, he'll be able to connect themselves to it was like 5 demons of something, right? And they're looking for the crown, the wannabe Lara Croft lady, and they end up finding the tomb of Black Adam, which, I think they did the unknown history of Black Adam pretty well, that they first have one story and then, my family knows the true story, and that's revealed, and then it's finally revealed by Black Adam about what actually happened. I thought that worked mostly well in terms of the progress of finding out what the actual history was. And the true history made far more sense for him getting locked away and banished, whereas the story she gives at the start was just like, like maybe the wizards wouldn't banish him or lock him away. It doesn't, like, it's odd, they trap him. It's like, the wizards gave him his power. Wouldn't they just be able to take his power away?
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Just, all right.
But no, we'll trap you, and then this great prison, anyone who just finds it and says Shazam will release him. Like, that's not a very secure prison. So they just want it for the film so she can release it. I was like, find some logical justification that make, like, people would actually do instead of stupid plot points just so you can justify what you want in the story, because you're not thinking creatively enough to have people be logical and get where you want. So the corporation that's digging for all the magic material, they have a spy that's in with this group, and then they find the crown. There's a fight break out, and she releases Adam by saying Shazam, just to save her own skin. And then they just start attacking him, and then he wipes everyone else out. He gets blown up by an Eternia rocket that has the Eternia magic energy in it. We never see that again. It was effective.
Yeah, they used it once.
He got injured in his side, and then and so much so, he tries to fly away, and he flies like way off in that direction, and then falls down right there. So he also floated, and then circled back, and then got sick, and then falls.
He fainted while still flying.
Like he was just doing circles. He didn't know where he was going. He was like, I don't have a home. I'm gonna fly away. But it's like, so it's just, and then, but it was effective enough to knock him out.
Yeah,
and then never used again. And they literally fight the people who had that weapon, and it's gone now. Because, again, it was convenient in the plot to have him knocked out there, but we don't want to knock him out later. But it would have been an interesting thing that he had to fight weapons that he knew could injure him, and you have to account for that.
And that's the thing I felt as well in this whole movie. Like, it's funny how for most of it, he's just like, I'm invincible, I can do whatever. And then once we get the demon guy who gets a bit more damage, he's like, oh, now I have to, like, learn how to fight. But then he wins anyway. Yeah. Like, there was no growth for him either.
Yep. Exactly. And so once he gets knocked out, footage of the fight of him, like, because he goes out of the cave, and then the intergang soldiers are everywhere, and so there's a big fight. Must have been seen by satellite transmission or whatever. And Amanda Waller sees it, and again, this film doesn't seem to understand the context. It's hard to understand the context, period, of what the DC cinematic universe is, period. Who's in control of everything. But they have established some things, like Amanda Waller handles the Suicide Squad. But she's not assembling a Suicide Squad here. She's just, is she in charge of, like, superhero group recruitment across the board now?
I think they want her to be the Nick Fury.
It seems like that. And so she's assembling a team, and just these heroes are introduced out of the blue. We don't know where they come from, how they fit in. It's established that Dr. Fate is as old as, like, World War II. He's 100 years old, right? And where was he? Like, it was, all right, almost hard enough to swallow the Wonder Woman backstory that she was in World War I, but okay, there's only a couple of photos surviving. You have to dig through all the records to find thing. She disappeared, but then she appeared in the 80s again, and then seems to have disappeared again, and no one heard of her and stuff. And so now you're saying Dr. Fate was also around. No one's, like, they really showed when they were building up that DC cinematic universe is that Superman was one of the first kind of hero, like superpowered individuals around, people responding like...
Apparently not.
Batman was doing things, but he was more in the shadows, and so you can kind of get away with Batman being around for a bit. But now they have not only Dr. Fate, but Hawkeye must have been around for ages, and he has a setup bigger than Tony Stark. Like you go to a, Xavier's Institute type mansion thing, they go underground and it is just facilities, massive jet hidden away. It was giving me real X-Men vibes.
It was really hard because for a moment I was like, wait, X-Men isn't in the DCU, is it? I was questioning myself because it looked like it. It looked 1-to-1.
And then just Hawkman has these insane, crazy facilities. This jet that's made out of material that's indestructible, then it isn't indestructible because it gets damaged and broken. And so it's like, and I'm just wondering, where the hell was this? And so the only way you can try and swallow it is just pretend, is this like a self-contained film that is trying to use things in the cinematic universe, but it's actually in its own universe with its own history and stuff? So there's all these questions that come up with that. And then there's a question like, okay, you saw the video footage. Whoever this guy is insanely powerful. You might want to get the big guns for this. I'm just saying.
Not two rookies who clearly don't know what they're doing.
And could it be because that Amanda Waller doesn't have authority or a way to contact, Superman? Guess what, though? She does.
Yeah.
So, look, I don't like... It seems like they filmed this film without any intention of having Superman in it at all, but then leadership in the Warner Brothers have changed, and now they're thinking that instead of... Because they've cancelled the Supergirl film, the diversely cast Supergirl film, and so it seems like they're trying to embrace some of their bigger named heroes again, because, yes, they are successful, people like them for a reason. And then they had to forcibly inject him in an after-credit scene because the film was already done.
Yep.
But it's just, that also doesn't, because now why weren't you grabbing it? And they're trying to say like, because even he's just talking with Hawkman and is like, all right, we got this, we got that, we need a big hitter or something, and it's like, I don't know, Whirlwind Girl and Atom Smasher, they were useless, and I think you'd figure out pretty clear that they would be kind of useless, and so you wouldn't get them. But then they established that the Justice Society is a thing in this universe and has been a thing for a while. I'm like, where the hell were they? So the Justice Society is like old school Justice League. Yeah. It's interesting because DC retcons so much. And I don't know the original origin of the Justice Society, but in like retcons that were like they were the Justice League, before the Super Friends, before Batman and Superman teamed up, there was like old school Flash, old school Green Lantern. And when I say old school, the old school Green Lantern is like he has this weird cape with this big thing, and he looks really campy. Nice. I liked him.
Well, that's the thing, you say campy. When I first heard the Justice Society, I was like, that's a bit dated, I think.
Have you heard of the Justice Society? Really?
The first time I heard it, I was like, I'm sure that's comic book stuff, but you can tell that it's the older stuff.
Well, in the retcons, it's like old school Flash has like the almost it's this metal hat with the wings on it, and then old school Green Lantern, and then Hawkman is, and sometimes they have a different roster, different cast in it, but they're like these older school heroes and things. But now they're established that they're the Justice Society. Is like, again, I was like, well, they're trying to say that this is a group that's been operating for a while now, by implication with Dr. Fate in there. Where the hell were they? There was a freaking alien invasion not long ago. It's like you had, Doomsday wiping people out and things. It's just, this is... The canon established that there wasn't a lot of, or if any, superheroes in the past. Wonder Woman is the exception, right? And so these needed to have been introduced recently, and you could have done it, because now more superpowers are coming in the world and everything. But they even established that Atom Smasher got his suit from his granddad because they, wanted a more... They didn't want the regular Atom Smasher person that you would have cast, and so they wanted to change that as well. And... I will, fine, do that, make it a good character. But he was useless, the Atom Smasher in this film. And then we just have questions like, okay, where were they?
the amount of times that Adam Smasher and what was it, Hawkman, whatever, was like, afterwards having a talk every single time. You think you'd take him off the team if he stuffs up that much.
Screw it up, and there's no real talk.
There's never a talk.
And then at the end, in the big fight, him, Adam Smasher, and the girl aren't even helping against the big guy. They're fighting against these useless skeleton zombies that are so pathetically weak.
I was so annoyed because all he did was he was kicking up debris and stuff. If I was him, I'd just go, yeah, they're like ants. It would have been funny as well had he just gone, oh, let me help you. It would have been a funny moment, but no, they were useless.
They could have had a Justice Society film and given more attention to characters. And again, you can turn B-list characters into A-list popular ones if you execute them right. Guardians of the Galaxy. They didn't want to give any time to these really because it's all about Adam. These are just the people that are responding to it. And they didn't set up how they fit in the universe. They contradict what the universe was built up. And the problem, if they tried to make a Justice Society film, I think everyone would just think, oh, this is like, discount Justice League.
Yeah.
And so you could have sort of like you're showing the film back where this is them, but then that contradicts the Justice League, and so maybe give them a new name or something, or make it like a Dr. Fate film, or make it a Black Adam film and have them properly introduced and set up and justified in the universe.
Like it could even be like, oh, we need to call people in to like help with this Black Adam situation, get in Justice League, and they're like, oh no, they're off doing something else right now. They're busy doing something bigger.
It's lazy, but they at least like what someone just say. We need Superman for this. It's like Superman's off world or something.
Yeah.
Or build off of what you have already. What's the guy that attacked that in Justice League? It's not Doom. It was Darkseid. Darkseid just says like Superman is like just say. Superman is leaving the world looking for, Darkseid or something that someone's possibly attacking everything. It's cheap, it's lazy, at least it does that.
Yeah.
But no, they just find that Superman is on Earth and
he was available.
A phone call away. But they try and sell it that they didn't really know the power level of Black Adam until after they fought him, and then they realized we're not going to be able to beat this guy, and then they continue to try and beat him and fight him. And so...
And then they talk and have a chat. And then it's all over. And then it's not over.
Oh, I have so many issues with the Justice Society when they arrive. I'll get these people, like they're idiots. And all it took was talking to the guy. They don't even bother talking. And then when they do try and talk, it's so dumb. They're not even speaking like the most logical things that you would say about him. We'll get there. Okay.
Yeah, people who say how bad violence is.
Yeah.
They really do just pull their punches.
Although lots of property destruction in this by the Justice Society.
All I think of is insurance. Every time I see like a hole get broken into a wall, I go, man, I hope they've got insurance.
And look, Black Adam, he just doesn't give us stuff. There's a door and he'll just walk through the wall anyway. It was so baffling. It was like, I'm glad at least someone asks him about it. But then he just like says, oh no, that's how we did it in... No. We had doors in Conduct, but we had to rooms that way. It wasn't
an answer to why you bursting through walls. You used a door before. Keep using doors.
You're just being an arsehole now.
Yeah.
So, Justice Society. Yeah. They tried to sell it that they didn't know his power level, and so maybe that they're calling him as like Superman is too much pushing the red button. We'll use these other heroes, and Superman can. That's the thing. Superman isn't always fighting a world-defeating threat. He's usually handling criminals and everything. So even a threat this big would warrant Superman. They could have tried to sell that, like, maybe there were issues, diplomatic issues, because of, I don't know, the country things and stuff like that. Like, if we send Superman into a country like this that has, like, legal whatever protections, it's under an agreement with... It's called Intergang. And so... They're a gang, like a society of criminals, and so they couldn't even sell it like they had some legal claim as a company to mine the area or anything like that. And it's like, we can't break the laws of conduct. They are everything, so we need a group that's not so publicly recognized as Superman. There's none of that. And then it's also shown that it seems like we're the Justice, that everyone knows who they are anyway. So that's the logic that they could have gone, would have worked if their Justice Society was less known, but they're as known as Superman, it seems. And so it doesn't make sense It's just like, okay, this is Justice Society. They have insane amounts of money. They don't establish anything about Hawkman's origin. Like,
He just is.
Just is. And all the origin stuff we got of the other characters is Dr. Fate found the helmet, and he was from, like, the early 1900s, like, so, because you saw people going off into World War II. And if you touch the helmet, it can possess you. It's like, that might, kind of work for Dr. Fate. Adam Smasher, he just was born with the powers and got the suit off of his dad or granddad or whatever.
His uncle.
The girl who was an ingenious engineer, scientist person with all these incredible powers and everything.
Great at medicine as well.
Great at medicine and stuff.
Can do no wrong.
Who was also useless at the end of the...
Turns out wind isn't that powerful.
She was kidnapped when she was 15 years old. Someone injected her with nano machines, and then she now has superpowers. And that's as much as we got on her.
Yeah.
Nothing really set up in terms of the interplay between the characters. And Hawkman, we're given nothing. Where does he have all this insane money, resources? And Hawkman, he's like an alien. He's from another world. Like Hawkman, Hawkgirl. They're I forget the name of their race and place they come from. And they actually have wings. His wings here were like mechanical, foldy out wings. This isn't the focus. Don't worry about the Justice Society. There. Don't worry about Amanda Waller, who's this evil, horrible woman that blackmails criminals. She's now organizing heroes as well. Don't worry about that. This is about Black Adam. But then
it's not.
Then it's not, and he doesn't have motivations because he's just getting caught in the flow of stuff. And then, so the Justice Society arrives, and the logic of them taking away this man's freedom and everything like that is basically, I can't remember exactly. It was like he's too dangerous when he's getting attacked, and it's just like
he could go nuclear. Like, wasn't it they knew the origin of like he gets so aggressive.
They reveal later on that, and this is what's annoying. They don't establish this when they're actually, because they basically don't try and talk. They just
fight. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what was the actual initiation of the fighting. They arrive in the jet. Hawkman jumps out of the jet and saves the life of one of the intergang thugs that he drops. And they're kind of, I think, justifying that you're killing people bad. They don't know the context of the conflict. Do they know who intergang is at all? It's like I have no...
Well, I actually thought that the Justice Society was kind of evil in the sense so that doesn't matter what you do as like an organization, we're going to protect the rights of those bigger company
That's what it really felt. They even say our job is to protect peace or something in the world, even if it's protecting this horrible intergang evil people from oppressing this third world country that they were fighting on intergang's side when they arrived. And I was just like, what? Like, I'm not on Justice Society awful. What are they doing? And it also raised the question, why hasn't anyone bothered trying to help Kund? I was like, screw them. Because they could have tried to justify it because there were really delicate diplomatic things. If any, Western-based superhero gets involved in trying to help Kunduk, it could set off World War III because there are other countries that would have taken that as an aggressive
different
thing.
allies, and then it could have made about
it
what
could have been real easy enough to justify, and this is basic stuff that we're coming up with just with 2 seconds thought. There's none of that, and so instead it makes it look like there's this people being oppressed by this evil, company gang thing, and the superheroes have cared spit about it, and then they actively come and stop the guy that seems to be fighting against them when they arrive.
Yep.
So Justice Society is awful, and then they end up fighting him, causing big property damage. They don't even care. It's like, they don't say, we need to lure him away from the city or anything like that.
I thought too, it was like, there are like mountains and cliffs.
Yeah.
Like 100 k's away. You can all fly super fast, just go over there and have a fight in the desert. Why are you having a fight in the city where it's very heavily populated?
Yeah, and lots of destruction happens in this fight. And look, this is where Atom Smasher and the Whirlwind Girl seem to do some things that kind of help. And all right, this is a team. They might have enough power to stop him. Maybe Atom Smasher tries to pin him down with the fist. You don't really know what Dr. Fate can do, but Dr. Fate's, he seemed pretty tough towards the end.
Yeah.
Like, and out of anyone, Dr. Fate was the most interesting and cool looking, and it's like, all right, I'd like to learn more about Dr. Fate. It's got a great cast for him, but then they kill him off because it seems like, I don't know, they can't pay Pierce Brosnan.
Maybe he was like, only one.
Only one. Pay me. You offered me so much insane money. It's a paycheck. I'll do it. Just get it over and done with. They kill him off at the end, and it's a missed opportunity. They could have. Dr. Fate has potential to be some, like, look at what they did with Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
you could do something. There's a really cool. He has this cool look. This cool thing about this eldritch kind of being of order that's in the helmet and stuff.
Yeah,
like there is some cool stuff you could do with Dr. Fate, and they even did some things well with him knowing the future. It isn't set in stone. He actually says that, but he sees kind of projections of the future, and they interplay that really well, that he can see the people's fate. Dr. Fate! Still don't know why it's called Doctor, but hey, it's in the comics. Keep, you don't want to change the name. It's classic now. But still, the Fate thing, if that all works, they could have done something cool with him. During the fighting, Dr. Fate realizes that the girl had a crown, but they're like, no, we need to deal with this guy first, then we'll deal with the crown. But then it's like a who has the crown kind of thing, trying to find the crown. Like, because during the fighting or something, the kid gets kidnapped by the bad guys. I'm not sure if I'm jumping a thing, but anyway, they all say, we need to save the kid now. And then there's a misdirect. They take out all these ships. Adam flies across and then, the kid's not there. They have the kid and they have the crown, and then they have to meet up and decide on what they need to do. That's kind of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, so again, the justification of the Justice Society wanting to bring him in, they don't actually properly say that this guy, according to our writings, was a villain, destroyed everything, signs that he's going to be a villain again. But then all we have to do is talk to him. And it turns out that kind of works, but Hawkman's, the way he decides is like, we're going to take away your freedom or something like that. It's, what, you think that's going to work? Good.
Persuasive speaking.
You're a smart character there, Hawkman. There were small things that happened throughout all this that kind of had potential to work. I didn't mind Adam learning, like he doesn't want to learn the things about, saying a catchphrase first, and then he tries to do it and he fails at it again, and he tries, and then he finally gets the catchphrase. I think that mostly worked. Like in terms of how he's reacting to the modern world, there were things that had potential and they didn't necessarily fail it, but Adam is not going to. He doesn't carry this show because they couldn't commit either way, and because I don't want to I want people. This is a big observation for me, so I won't save it till the end. The point that really kind of contextualized one of the big failings of the film was the after credit scene where Superman arrives. Because when Superman arrives in the after credit scenes, you just see the symbol and the music, and I was like I felt more in that first few seconds because Superman's awesome.
Yeah.
That's and when he's done right, he's absolutely just a stellar character. Black Adam has none of that. None of that, appeal, gravitas, so you need to stick the landing and do him right, and they didn't do that, and so it fails from the get-go. And then compare that to a character like Superman, right? And his mere appearance gets you more excited for a couple of minutes than the entire film.
It's so annoying hearing this because I'm just formulating a different story in my head that would have been such a better movie. Seeing Black Adam turn into a villain, him start out as a hero when he first comes as a challenger, being like, okay, I've done this before, maybe get the backstory too. But seeing him then, like you said before, look at the governments and the tyranny in the world and then turn to that villain, and that ending being Superman showing up, that would have been a cool... I would have gotten excited for the DCU.
Just have a Black Adam movie where it was him versus Superman.
Yeah.
It would have been great. Because this thing... Black Adam is one of the few people that can actually damage Superman, because Superman has a vulnerability that doesn't get presented much, because when it's just a Superman story, there's no reason to inject that vulnerability. He's weak to magic. And Black Adam's powers are all magic based. Yep. And so when he shoots lightning at him, it actually hurts Superman. And so there's potential there to actually have someone challenge Superman without whipping out kryptonite, and it could have been really, really cool.
That would have been.
But then they can't, like they had the Zod vs Superman mega destruction thing, and it's just they failed on that because he was just destroying everything. Like you need some better, themes, motives, and everything to carry just massive superhero fighting everything. But even then, I think it would have been more enjoyable because it's Superman. Superman versus Black Adam. But anyway, he comes in way too late, just at the very end. And so they need to save the boy, and they're willing to... they don't want to hand over the crown. The mum sneaks the crown in her backpack, and she willing to exchange it for him. And then the guy's like, I'll kill him anyway. Black Adam saves the kid, but then goes nuclear and would have killed everyone. And that's when he realizes that, I'm not a good hero. I'm not good at this. I'm going to, surrender myself to the Justice Society. It's like, oh, hey. And funnily enough, right, even if it was anticlimactic, it would have had a more poignant and meaningful ending if the film ended there.
That's what I felt too. I was like, oh, it's ending now, but you know what? At least we went somewhere.
Yeah.
But then it kind of unravels.
They need that big action scene at the end, and they could have had the big action scene, right, at that moment, instead of, Black Adam going nuclear, have the guy actually put the crown on, get all the demonic powers. He has to team up with the Justice Society, but the only way he defeats him is too much collateral damage, and he goes nuclear, and the Justice Society saves the son and the mum, but they still defeat the big bad guy, and then at the end, he realizes, I'm not a hero, I'm too dangerous, surrendering himself and everything. The thing is, though, they want to use him for sequels. They want him to confront Superman.
And you can have Superman then if you're surrendering.
Yeah.
So
they could have easily. I thought where they were going with this, they were going to lock him away, and Black Adam was going to be there as like a extra gun to throw out at the bad guys if things get really bad, and they'll risk unleashing Black Adam. They didn't do that. Dr. Fate kind of realizes that we need him, and so he's the one that frees Black Adam using his magical powers and stuff. The part of it, and it's interesting, this part, I like the confrontation with Dr. Fate, where he sees the future and stuff. That kind of worked. It was something. This is where I mean that they could have done something interesting with the Dr. Fate character and stuff, where he sees that they can defeat the bad guy, but Hawkman will die in the process unless I change the future. But that future means I'm going to die. But Dr. Fate was willing to die himself, do the self-sacrificing. It's the classic hero move. This is why I really like Dr. Fate in this film. He's the most heroic character here.
He is.
And he decides to do the sacrifice to save his friend, to let it all play out. And so there's something that would have really sucked me in, because classic superhero themes is why people love superheroes, right? It works. I could just give me heaps and heaps of that. When you think people get sick of it, look, I've been into superheroes my whole life. You don't get sick of these like universal truths, universal themes of heroism, self-sacrifice, and just seeing heaps of different characters realize the truth of what being a superhero is, that it's not easy, it's not for glory, it's not for fame, it's because you have power to help people, and to be able to help people more than other people, which puts a responsibility on you to do that. It's the Spider-Man theme, great power, great responsibility. And so I love seeing that concept played out in different ways with different characters, and I love that to the end of time. All right? But it seems like, no, they want anti-heroes, and they want to shake up the superheroes. Like,
I think by now doing a traditional superhero is shaking up the formula.
I know, because they had to make Superman so nihilistic, everything in Man of Steel, and then Justice League and all that stuff. And it's like, superheroes have been popular for a reason. Stop trying to reinvent things, figure out what made them great, and then just double down on that and make cool, interesting stories framed around that core theme. Because the best part of this film was that, where you saw a character just act heroic, do something great, lay his life down. And I'm sad because Dr. Fate is like, his helmet's there, and so they'll pass on the helmet to someone else. But Pierce Brosnan, what a great casting for Dr. Fate. So I'm not saying they can't still have more Dr. Fate because the helmet's there. They'll give it to some, I don't know, female.
Some spunky young person who doesn't know what the character
has the right tick boxes, everything.
Yeah.
When Pierce Brosnan, he's like a great actor, it's James Bond, people. It was such a good casting for Dr. Fate. And we got so little of him, and you saw the potential, how great it would have been if they fleshed it out, gave us more of it, gave it full. And they should have, one of the failings, they should have defined his powers a bit better. But he was mostly consistent with the powers he was using. He could do like mirror reflections. He could do kind of like... So he illusion spells. He could make duplicates of himself and stuff. He could like weird symbol thing and throw that down. It kind of hurts people. So even though we don't really know what he can do, at least what he was doing, we saw repeat enough that these are his kind of trademark moves. It's a little bit better.
And they were at least interesting as well, other than just wind and getting really big. Like when he manipulates Adam to think he's back in the other age, and then they use that to distract him.
Yes,
Like,
that was cool.
Interesting stuff.
That was really cool. And so he ends up actually nearly going toe-to-toe with this demon guy. So by the way, when Black Adam went nuclear to stop the guy, he died with the crown in his hand, but it turns out that's like the type of blood sacrifice you needed to be able to... when you die... They even said because he got killed by Black Adam's powers, he went to the underworld. I don't know if that was needed or necessary.
Hold on. If you have the crown and then you die, and then you come back as a demon, why didn't the original guy, when Black Adam killed him, come back as a demon as well?
I have not. He didn't say the word before. No, because remember, the crown fell off, and he didn't have the crown in his hand when he died.
Okay.
That's what I think they're doing.
Okay.
You need to die holding the crown.
Okay.
Having said the word. Sorry. You need to die by Black Adam's powers while holding the crown. I said that's a very convoluted.
Man, you got to make sure that Black Adam
I know.
wants to kill you and no one else.
That was very lucky he managed to line up those ducks to then awaken in the underworld for the demons to make them his champion, like the Black Adam thing, and then he gets resurrected and gets to call upon the hosts of hell, raising up skeletal army, which is the most underwhelming, pathetic skeletal army I think I've ever seen.
The skeletons and Spy Kids were more threatening.
Oh my goodness! And his like evil form was the most awful CGI looking villain monster thing, and so he has all this demon power now. And then there's this arbitrary thing: we can't let him get to the throne, and that's all they say. And there's no reason why, but for some reason, when he gets to the throne and sits on the throne, he can call upon the hosts of hell. We're not told why. We're not told that there's a Eternia in the throne, that there's magic material. It's just, it's on the throne.
Maybe he needs to sit and have a rest. That's how he calls down hell. Like,
let's sit somewhere else, mate. There's a lot of seats. So there's a lot in this film that just doesn't make sense and is dumb and just happens because reasons. And then Dr. Fate actually almost goes toe-to-toe with him before he gets to the throne. And then he takes off his helmet and gives the guy a free hit and he dies. Because what happens is he's fighting with all his duplicates. The demon destroys all the duplicates and launches, I don't know, fire something thing against the real Dr. Fate. He gets injured. The duplicates die. And then he decides to take off his helmet and stand there to get hit. And I'm just like, you weren't defeated at that point. Like, maybe was it he knew the future and he needed to go out that way to lead it in,
or was it that he didn't? Because before he goes in, he goes, "I don't see anything." Maybe he was just like, "All right, I still don't see anything, so I'm going to just sacrifice myself."
But it really felt like, now I'll die.
Yeah,
and it's like you could still keep fighting. And it would have been cool if you fought to your last breath, and then the demon finally overpowered you.
It was Kenobi putting up, but no one was there to witness it, so I don't know why he did it.
I don't know. Like, you're doing some good things with him. And then that's the way you want to kill him off? And then I thought people get possessed when they touch the helmet because they defeat him by Hawkman touching the helmet, using Dr. Fate powers to do something. Hawkman duplicates himself with the helmet, and him, in multiple duplicates, hold down the demon guy for Black Adam to rip him in two with the horns. He could just use no possessions. Touch the helmet, you got the... again, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Just random crap at this point.
They said that if you touch it, you get possessed and it's bad, and then later you touch it and it's okay.
And you just get these powers.
And then once he's done touching it, it flutters into nothing.
And I'm wondering, this is like, I thought that they were keeping the helmet. He just said that they still have the helmet, and I was assuming that the helmet could just rematerialize and choose a host. But now I'm not sure. Maybe that was actually just the helmet died as well, and Dr. Fate is gone from this cinematic universe. And what a waste! What a great character you could do. So it's just... and then they defeat the demon bad guy. And now the Justice Society decide to leave Black Adam around. Because I guess maybe their logic is, he helped us defeat the bad guy, maybe he's not so bad after all. I mean, the mission hasn't really changed. Like, Black Adam did admit that, my powers haven't changed. Maybe they don't actually explain their logic for now you're good. They're just like, thanks for the help, assist, we're gone now. And then they're like, what will you do, Black Adam? And he's like, you will rule us? He sits on the throne, like, nah, doesn't feel right, crashes the throne. You'll protect us.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll go bad in the next movie, I don't know. Yeah.
And then that's the film, unironically, that's it. Ends with post-credit, where Dr. Waller arrives, is like, all right. You escaped from my prison, but now your prison is Kondak. If you leave Kondak, I'll get the big guns against you. And it's like, there's nothing on this planet that will harm me. Well, I can call in favors from people who aren't from this planet. And he destroys the drone, then a shadowy figure lands, and he walks forward, and it's Superman. And look, the reveal, it's still Superman. It's like, you cannot get rid of that classic Christopher Reeve Superman tune.
But I think it was the new one. It was the Man of Steel one that played.
No, I thought it was the Christopher Reeve.
No, I'm pretty sure it was Man of Steel. I think I like the classic one more. No, it was the
Yes.
It was a classic?
The theme from the Richard Donner movies.
Okay.
I told
Good.
you.
I'm glad.
Hey, I got you.
I'm happy. I was going to say, I preferred that one.
Yes. And it's so iconic. It's so thematic. It's just one of the best theme scores ever. That was like Indiana Jones. And
although, are they just trying to trick you?
I know. It's member berries. It doesn't redeem the film at all. In fact, it makes more problems because it means that they could have called him in earlier and all that stuff. Okay, and it also shows one of the biggest failings of this film total is that Black Adam is not a hero. Okay, and he doesn't have the star power of Superman. And this film would have worked so much better if you committed him being a villain, and it could have been a really complex, interesting villain to the scale of Darth Vader. And then, no, they wanted to make him a hero, and they couldn't even commit to him being a hero. They were anti-hero, is he a hero, is it wishy-washy. No real motivations at all. You don't know what's going on with that. And as a result, it's a very lost, confused film that contradicts certain parts of the lore, some really dumb moments. Because again, remember when we did mention, but let's kind of focus a bit on that, where he calls on the hosts of hell, and they rise up, and there's these demon skeletons, and they just, I'll pick up this club or pipe and knock you over. There was no threat to them at all.
Apparently, hell isn't that bad.
Yeah, and then the kid, unironically, is like, I'll do this.
Everyone come together.
The speech was so poorly delivered.
He wasn't even yelling. He was
just like
talking like this, and somehow everyone could hear him.
Everyone, we must come together and do this. We will fight. Fight with me. I'm overplaying, but it felt like that. It was just so. The delivery was so weak.
And then everyone's like,
uninspiring.
Oh, I'm inspired. Let's do that. And then they all charge through.
Well, they do that, and then.
He does this, everyone else does this. That's not doing anything. There's still zombie skeletons around.
It's timed with Black Adam's arrival. It's like it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Right. And then they just like, oh, liberation, fight for freedom. And I was like, hey, you're doing that. What about before when you were overtaken by an intergang and everything like that?
Yeah.
All it took was someone doing this. Let's fight for freedom. So suddenly now they're willing to fight for their liberation, and they'll fight these demon death skeleton things, but they're really weak. They pose no threat. And then when they defeat the demon guy by Black Adam ripping the guy in two, and when he rips in two, instead of blood, it's like lava. And so that's why it's like, I think kids, it'd be scary, but they're gonna like the most graphic moment is when Black Adam is holding the guy by the throat and electrocutes him, and it's like his skin melts, but it's actually it fries apart, revealing a skeleton underneath. That's the most graphic thing in the film, and might scare some children. But because it's not blood and it's like, it quickly kind of immolates him into a skeleton. It's like,
That's the first part of the film as well. So like
Yeah,
once you get past that bit, you're fine for the rest of it.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so he rips the guy in two, and then all the skeleton fire guys disappear because the portal to hell closes.
Haven't seen that before in a movie in the past 20 years.
Yeah. And then the Justice League just leaves him. See ya. Bye. Yeah. Lots of problems. Spectacle. Some fun. Yeah, I'm definitely on 4 out of 10. There are still like you could almost push me down to a 3 out of 10 now after reflection. It's if you turn your brain off, you might be able to just enjoy the spectacle. But when you try and pay attention to the problems and how it contradicts and stuff, it's like. But having said, there were moments I did enjoy. Like the backstory revealed Black Adam, the father he went nuclear revenge because of the death of his son. That resonates with me. I'm a father, and I like Dr. Fate in it as well. And 4, 3 or 4, yeah.
I'm still with a 5.
Yeah.
There were issues with it, but I wasn't as bad as any of the more recent.
That's very true. Like
Thor: Love and Thunder, I hated.
Yes, you're right.
You're
right. It's not as bad as Thor: Love and Thunder. It's not as bad as Rings of Power. It's not as good as Dark Knight. Sorry, not Dark Knight. Nowhere near as good. Not as good as the Batman. The Batman.
Yeah, no, Batman was more interesting. I think
the Batman was actually a lot better than this one, but nowhere near great. It was good. I enjoyed the Batman. And so, yeah, that's why I'm still sitting on like a 4.
Yeah.
But there we go. That's our kind of in-depth review of Black Adam. Whoa, what will DC do now? This is
That's been my question after every movie.
I've heard that they might be trying to do another Superman film with because that was Henry Cavill. You saw it was Henry Cavill, Superman, who is
good,
great casting.
He looks. I will admit, those few seconds that he did appear, I was like, that man is meant for that role.
He is.
He looked.
All he needs is a good Superman script. But writing, they don't understand the genre. This Black Adam one gives me very little faith and hope for the future DC, unless they get get good writers on this stuff. But there we go. That has been Black Adam. Meh. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, stay on watch.